Good morning. We're starting honey harvest number 2. We're a bit late. We're late about 2.5 weeks pulling the honey, so I've definitely noticed a huge drop. Probably some to robbing and some to just dearth. Not much food coming in, so the hive, even one of the nukes that I had made, got completely robbed out and killed. So that's kind of a cost when you get a little too late in getting your honey off. And sometimes put that hive at risk as well, because now they also have to defend against all their sister colonies. Anybody that might not have enough honey, they're going to go in to try to rob the other bees. So let's go into this hive. They've got a couple of frames we're going to take from them, and we'll kind of show you what we're doing. So overall, a nice, strong colony, this one. But it's interesting to see how much drop in honey can occur within a few weeks. Now here's a probably one of you can see, and the rest before we also harvest. Now you can see this hive here, you can't really, has got 3 boxes. We're only going to take what we're going to take from the top one, really. Here's another good one. This is a foundation light. This is comb honey. Not sure if we'll take the comb out, but this is a good one. When you take the bees off, it's pretty much just, usually you want to do it on top of the hive, but they'll find their way back. And let's give it a, we'll do it right here. Give it a shake. Yeah. It's a bit of a harder shake than it looks in the video, but it will get one of, without using extensive equipment. There's many different ways to go about doing just this. I think we got one more frame here. We're just going to leave this for them. It's quarter capped on this side, but there's nothing on the other side. And here's a hive beetle. There's actually 2. There it goes. Come on. I don't know if you can see there, I got one. They're a bit of a huge nuisance for the bees. The good thing is in the Maryland winters, if it's a nice winter, the hive beetles will die. It's really the varroa mites you got to worry about. So now we're going to quickly close this hive, as we don't want too much robbery occurring. Now we can go ahead and move down here to this hive. So we put a queen excluder here, but we're about to find out how many bees are still in there. This was yesterday, and usually if the nights are a little bit cooler, the bees will work their way down, but it's not that cold here. And the last one I had a queen excluder, there were still quite a few bees in there, so I had to kind of shake them out. That was the only real option. So let's see what we can do here. Okay, this looks promising. So we just gotta move fast. Actually, this is perfect. So, but problem. Oh, that's it. For now, okay, come on. See, these bees are gonna start going into this box quickly, so I gotta move it. So sorry for not explaining and rushing in with that box. That box was 70% of the frames, so it's 7 out of 10 were fully capped, and 3 they were pretty much empty. So And since the queen excluder worked like magic, and there's so many bees flying, as I'll show you, I got my, they're working on cleaning our honey extractor, and this frame had a tiny bit of honey. So to keep them distracted on this from me, I put this out. This table was full of honey that came out of the extractor. Whatever little bit was left off. Last night, this table was full of honey. This morning, it's all gone. Let's kind of show you how those queen excluders work. For a small operation, somebody new, they're probably not an ideal choice for somebody who's got 50 hives. I mean, unless either you're making your own or you're probably going to opt for a different option. But the way the queen excluders work is, as you'll see, they've got a circle. You can see a little mesh on the bottom. When the bees go down, they can't work their way back up. There's a triangle on the other side, and I'll show it to you. So during nighttime, as the bees went down, they're able to come out of these exits here, but they're not able to go back in because they'll always try to go back in from the center where the hole is. So you make sure the box of honey that you want to extract sits on top of this. Put that on, usually 24 to 36 hours, and that'll clear out just about all the bees. And let's quickly check this box to see if there's even anything in here that we want to consider taking. So this hive produced a couple of, they've already produced one entire box of honey. I just took a second box of honey off of them, and this was the third one. And then whatever they have on the bottom. So we'll take that. It's a little bit, but they've still got 2 deeps. So let's take a look to see if there's any other frames. We're going to be extracting honey. I don't want to be doing another extraction later in the year. This one is it. This one's got a little bit. We'll take that, because now that we're pretty much major into dearth in Maryland. At least I've never gotten fall honey or a fall crop. I have a box on a table further back that I'm moving any of the frames that has a lid on it that we will extract. It's got a little bit, we're just gonna let this go. It'll stay with the bees. So all of these frames have some honey in them, but I gotta leave some. The rest will be for them, and then the bottom 2 as well. So here we are. This is a hive that I've not gone below. Sometimes it's worth checking, because see what is going on down there. Another mistake I made was, yes, there was no sugar syrup in my feeders, but I didn't remove my feeders. That was something I should have removed. So this is the plastic queen excluder. This one we got from Man Lake. They do work well. I mean, the only thing is the shape can, as you use them, they got the job done. That's all I'll say on that. But if you can afford it, they're smaller operation. Wooden ones are. They're definitely a little bit more sturdy. So they've started combing this frame. So the new frame I gave them, and I attempted to make that split, which was a disaster. That did not go well at all. So overall, as you can see, it's a pretty strong colony. These guys have done well. This colony right here is 2 years old, has self-requeened once, maybe twice, and if it did twice, I don't mark my queen, so that's one downside of not marking your queens. You won't really know if there is a issue going on. If you guys can see, honey. There's a lot of that. Look at that gold right there. All that golden pollen. There's some brood, and there are lots of pollen. And on the other side, there's 1 or 2 larvae, but the queen must not have worked her way here. And we just got to be a little bit quick, just because of the time of the year it is, before all the robbers realize I'm right here and I've opened this hive. Let's see if I can get you guys to see. You kind of start seeing those larvae in there. And on the other side, you can see the capped brood and tons of larvae too. I did not try to look for the queen, for all we know. One of you guys spots it. I don't even see her. Yet. So we're gonna jump right to the other end here. Wow. Tons and tons of brood. Tons of larvae on this one. Honey. And look at that brood. So that's it. We're not going to disturb them anymore. I think we've already disturbed them plenty. I'm going to come back later, and this will kind of give me an idea. I don't want, right now at least, the queen to go up and start laying. Probably, I don't know. And I'm coming back with, I'm going to feed all these hives, but this box still has honey in it. So just in case, very strong colony. Does start filling that box up, then I will have to reconsider whether we, before we feed them, if we want to extract some of that honey. But at this point, I'm thinking I'm just going to let them have the rest. At that stage, you do want to pull out the queen excluder, but I'll probably come back and do it in a day or two. I will probably put in some empty frames. With as strong as this colony is, this is the time of the year you want to use that colony and let them build comb for you right after the nectar flow ends. This was something I picked up from one of Cayman Reynolds' videos, and at first I was like, do I really want to do that? But it was so worth it because it has tremendously helped me increase my comb number of comb frames, like tremendously. This hive built me 2 boxes of comb frames before we went into winter last year. By the end of the winter, they had pretty much eaten up most of that sugar water, but there was still quite a bit of honey / sugar water left. So I was able to use that. Now that's an asset I have in early spring and late winter. If there's another hive I realize that have just run out of food, now I have a frame, whether it's, well, even if it is sugar water, you got something is better than nothing that can prevent them from starving. So I know a lot of people will say just don't feed your bees at all. I started off that way, and you just got to know your geography and where you live. So you might find people in tropical areas or southern hemisphere, and they've got nectar flow going just about, maybe, I don't know, they might have nectar flow most of the year, but not here in Maryland. We get a lot of our nectar, right where we are right now is zone 7A. It comes in from late March to basically July 15th. After that, it's a trickle. By April, it depends if the winter ends earlier. You can say late March, but you really want to have your hives ready and going gangbusters by late March. And you want to have, at least in where I am right now, I like to put on my boxes by late March. That way, if the flow starts early, because we have lots of tulip poplars, we have laurels. My neighbor's got laurels. We got black locust. It's kind of been weird because in the last couple of years, the black locust would always bloom first and then bloom the tulip poplar. But this year, the tulip poplars were in full bloom and our black locusts bloom later. We're kind of like downhill a little bit, so it's like a bit of a microclimate where the rest of the neighborhood, I could see black locust was in bloom, which actually kind of worked out in our favor because they could work that black locust first. There was still more black locust to be worked in our lane over here. So that's it's good to know what you have on your property and around your property, and you got to be a good advocate for that too, and help other people understand, you know, that these are valuable trees and valuable resources. It takes many, many years before that tree starts producing nectar. So let's take a look now. Let's see. Yeah, I'm not really going to take anything from this hive. They've been shepherds. They've been helping us keep this box, basically protecting that box, the comb for us, and they've done a good job with that. But let's move on to the last hive over here, and then we'll pretty much call it on our honey harvest. So I've already got 3 boxes of that need to be extracted inside. I've got the 4th sitting out here that's half full of frames. But in the end, I think out of all of these, we'll probably get 2.5 solid boxes of what you would say fully combed frames. This hive has already produced 1 box for us. So let's put this on the side. Let's take a look. Let's see, this is a bit of a early honey. Very light. You'll see they'll go right back to fixing that. We're going to leave this with them. That gives you a bit of an idea. This is a frame I moved from further down. Now, these were some frames I just want to show you because we're going to refer to them later, that got left, you know. I should have done a better job. They got left. The box did get exposed to some rain, but don't chuck them away. These bees are going to work it and they're going to clean it. If they don't use it, they'll let you know. And if they're not using it, then you can chuck it. And still don't chuck it. Render that wax out, but still good solid wax. This hive's getting a little agitated. I usually don't like to use much smoke unless it's absolutely necessary. Do have the smoker going with you in the event it does become necessary, so that way at least you've got the choice to use smoke if you have to. If you don't have the smoker going and you need the smoker, then it gets a little complicated. So we'll take this frame. We're going to give it a shake. 1, 2. There's a couple of bees. There they come. And yep, on this side too. There she comes out. Come on. Alright, now we're going to move it. Now here's the frame that I know we've shown you guys before. They're slowly working on it. It's getting a little bit bigger. Once they get that access to a little bit of sugar water, they'll go ahead and comb this thing out completely. But this is how it starts. So this was probably at some point something like this. And as it grows, now you will notice a huge difference between frames that have no foundation and are combed only. Their weight is tremendously lighter. So if you're somebody who's already struggling to pick your boxes because they're just so darn heavy, it's something to contemplate where you could do half the frames. Don't stick a empty box with just foundationless frames in there, because then they can draw it in whatever direction they want. So do a 50-50 checkerboard. That was another thing that I learned online. That's also been very helpful in the adaptation of new boxes. Oh yeah. Okay. We're gonna close these guys up. And that might just as very well so conclude our harvest for 2023. We'll pick back up once we start extracting, maybe later this evening or tomorrow evening, hopefully. I don't want to wait too long. And then we have to get ready for the winter and maybe do some fall splits. Definitely a big lesson learned. Don't put a split out during dearth, because that definitely costed me a lot of dead bees. But beekeeping is all about learning, and you will learn and keep learning from your failures. I don't think that ever stops in anything, but beekeeping especially, there's a lot of variables at play. You got weather that's constantly changing, no matter what side of the spectrum you fall on those beliefs. But the reality is things are changing, and those changes bring new challenges and some benefits as well. Like in this area, I think we didn't really have a hard winter. That helps the bees. But not having enough rain later affects the flowers. So every year is unique, and no year is the same as the year before. And that's the fun part about beekeeping. Here we are getting this extractor washed and cleaned. We let the bees clean it out, and it was very shiny and clean, but just to be safe, we get it nice and soapy and washed out before we extract the honey. So I decided to take this flexible blade steak knife. It's working quite well. Instead of the roller, where I feel like we lose most of the capping. Either it comes into the honey in particulate form, which some people love and some people absolutely do not want that in their honey. So, and two, this gives us a lot of wax cappings that we can later extract. So I wanted to try this. Saw somebody on YouTube doing it this way, but they definitely had a better knife than me. But I figured before I invest in a different knife or longer blade that's flexible. There's a couple I saw on Amazon. They were Japanese bread knives. So as long as a serrated blade that's flexible will do the job. I'm definitely liking this. So here on the bottom, this is all going in a colander. That's in a stainless steel bowl, and that will filter it out. So this is something new to me, so it's taking me a little bit to get my hand settled on it. So next year, the plan is we're not gonna run 10 frames in a box. Now this is a 9-frame box. So, but the bees didn't really draw it that far out. So what we'll do is we'll start with 9, and then we'll switch to 8, an 8 configuration. So as you can see in the end, this is what's gonna go in the extractor. This is a pretty nicely capped frame. I'm definitely removing a lot of honey, but that'll come out. I'll switch to the other knife, see if we can do it. Thinner blade is definitely the way to go. Now this is definitely darker honey, you can tell. So here's the next frame that we'll be extracting. Nice dark honey. So it's like 92 right now, 90. It's just not gonna get any hotter This honey is pretty thick, definitely, but overall we're very happy with this. Another great frame, another dark honey frame. This definitely makes me think there's some Tulip Poplar here. Tastes delicious. Now, because we were running this in a 9-frame configuration, most of these are actually just have enough excess on the outside, making it not extremely difficult to do what needs to be done. As you can see, you know that honey is ready, and even on a hot day, it's not coming out that easy. All right, the most fun part of it all is the opening. There we go, liquid gold. Alhamdulillah, we are very happy with this. This is definitely a there we go. So here we are. It's past midnight, but this is the end of our 2023 honey harvest. And there we go. So this year, I had a video issues, I had to cut it off. We made a lot of mistakes. We learned, did a lot of things right, also made a lot of mistakes. And all in all, it looks like we might actually come close to about 50 pounds harvested. Very excited and thankful. The bees did great. Now we gotta get them ready for the winter season. So I'm gonna start making, and then in the fall, if they're doing really well, we'll possibly make some splits. Now we got a lot of honey in this bowl over here. Got 2 bowls here also pretty full of honey. So now I gotta pick the extractor so we can get the rest in. So these are all the wax cappings as we removed them from the frames before we harvested the honey. And we've got them in a double strain. So I got 2 things going here. And there's the honey that's been slowly draining out of there. Now we're gonna put this in our bucket here. So we're going to use an optical refractometer to basically measure the moisture content in the honey. Ideally for honey, you want to be between 15.5 and 18.5 percentage. Anything more than 18.5, the likelihood of fermentation occurring is high, and anything 15.5 or below, it will crystallize faster because there's just so little moisture. Now I'm not gonna go for the honey that's sitting here out of the cells. We're gonna just crack just 1 cell. That should be more than enough honey. We're gonna uncap it now with this knife. I'm gonna put that honey think we got plenty here. I'll go ahead and I'm gonna wait for all the air bubbles to come out, and then we need to give it about 30 seconds before we can take our reading. So the bees usually know when it is best and perfect, and we'll go ahead and cap the honey. So once it's capped, if you have a 100% capped frame, you're pretty good. I don't have to worry too much. When it's usually not fully capped, you can test the moisture, because at certain times of the year, it's dry enough that even when it's not capped, you still will be between the 15.5 to 18.5 percentage point. So I think it's been about 30 seconds now. We'll go ahead and take a reading, and we're right at about 15.5%, close to 15.5 to 16% mark. But you know, that's perfect. That's the difference. Like sometimes the moment you crack that cell open, some moisture will get back in. So if we were to probably test that, you'd probably get, because that's uncapped, I'm pretty sure you're gonna get between a higher percentage than what we just did from right here. So here's the first bottle, one pound bottle from the second harvest of the year. There we have it. And here you can see the one that has the lid on it is from the first harvest, and the one we just bottled here with you. And here's another one.
It's much darker.
Yep, there's a pretty decent color difference.